You, you count for whatever you want to do.
Yes.
Wow, good morning. Great. So, Mother Heather asked you to listen to that gospel because Jesus mentions a specific animal. Did you hear what the animal was? What? A sheep. A sheep. In fact, we have a picture of one right here. A lamb. Today, on this fourth Sunday of Easter, we popularly call it Good Shepherd Sunday. Because no matter what year we're in, on this fourth Sunday of Easter, we hear talk about Jesus as the Good Shepherd, or sometimes he says he's the gateway to the sheep that they come in and out of. He also says, you heard that lesson that Anthony read, it speaks of the Lamb of God. He says he's the Lamb. So not only is he the Good Shepherd, he's also part of the flock. But whatever we hear about on this Good Shepherd Sunday, we always have that opening prayer we have, which says that God, whose Son Jesus is the Good Shepherd of your people, grant that when we hear his voice, we know him who calls us each by name. And that really jumped out at me this week, that Jesus calls us each by name, and that we're expected to hear his voice. So I began to think about what Jesus' voice sounds like. Do you think Jesus has a high voice? How about a low voice? Did Jesus, a medium voice? He was a baritone, yes. Does Jesus have a loud voice? Maybe. Does Jesus ever have a soft voice? Yeah, sometimes maybe a bit soft. Do you think you can ever listen to the voice of Jesus without hearing sound? Really? I think so too. I think so too. So if Jesus speaks to us many times without any really sound, how do we know when we hear his voice? Well, what would make you think you hear his voice speaking to you? Telling you to do the right thing, right? I think that has a lot to do with it. Because, you know, if we hear things that we're told to do that are the way that Jesus lived and the things he taught, it just might be his voice. So, like, for instance, if you hear a voice within you that is telling you to forgive somebody for something they've done, do you think that might be the voice of Jesus? I do, yeah. I think that might be. How about if you hear a voice inside saying, hold on to that grudge? Probably not. Because he didn't do that, right? He forgave everybody, even from the cross. How about if, let's turn the tables around. Suppose if you hear a voice telling you to say you're sorry. Would that maybe be a voice from you? Probably. How about if you hear a voice saying, blame somebody else? No. Jesus didn't do that. Right. So, there are many things like that. Do you think Jesus' voice would tell us to share things we have or to hold on tight? Share the things we have. That's what he did. He shared his whole life with us. And then, someone at 8 o'clock had an interesting example. Do you think the voice of Jesus, would the voice of Jesus tell us to say something very difficult to someone that they might not want to hear, but would be for their own good? No. Or would he tell us to just mind our own business and not say anything? See, sometimes it's not quite as easy to tell which one Jesus is saying. But the fact is that the voice of Jesus matches how he lived his life. So we would ask ourselves, what would Jesus do in this situation? So you all already know how to hear Jesus' voice. And that's what he says, because he said his sheep know his voice. And we're his sheep. We're part of his flock. So we know the voice of Jesus more than you think you know, right? And it's not, on one level, that difficult. We don't have to be rocket scientists. We don't have to have a lot of talent. We just have to be willing to listen for Jesus calling our name and to have our ears open with what he might be saying. So this week, as we go through our day-to-day lives, I encourage you to think about all those things in your life where you have to make decisions and think about things, and know that Jesus is speaking to you. So whether you should forgive somebody or hold a grudge, you know which voice Jesus is. Or whether you should share or hold tight, or whether you should show kindness or meanness. Jesus, God's voice, is there, and he calls us each by name. Happy Easter. We're still in Easter. Thank you.